Hello there, what is going on everyone? We're talking about Mandalorians today for Star Wars Legion. This is the biggest new announcement to come for the game in a very long time, and of course we talked about the initial announcement, but this is going to be a wish list on possible Mandalorians that we are yet to see, because while we do see an awful lot of very, very cool Mandos announced for the big new announcement, there's definitely some missing Mandalorians, and I think that, of course, that obviously gives them plenty of room to add new Mandalorians as time goes on. And so this is going to be a wish list of basically possible or even likely Mandalorians that will get announced over the next year or the next couple of years, because I think there's definitely a lot. And it's a very cool speculation and discussion point to launch into further discussion and debate on what would make the most sense and what we would love to see. And I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know down in the comments section what you want to see in Star Wars Legion, specifically for Mandalorians, whether it be for one of the existing factions or for an all-new sub-faction of Mandalorians, because there are a lot of different clans and a lot of different houses and a lot of different types of Mandalorians. There's a ton, and I'm not going to cover all of them in this video, but I'm going to cover some of the ones that I happen to think would make a very cool addition to the game in this video. We're also going to announce the winner of the latest $25 Amazon gift card at the end of this video, so make sure you're watching all the way to the end, and then we'll be starting another giveaway as soon as the next video launches. So make sure you're subscribed and leave a comment on this or one of my other videos to enter to win, and also check some of the links in the discount section in the video description below. We've got discount codes on mats and accessories over at Game Toppers. Also, 15% discount code for them, and also for if you want to check out Battle Foam, we've got discount codes for all of those sites down in the video description below. And you can also jump into our Discord if you're interested in Patreon, all that other stuff. Links are all down there. Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So first, and I think maybe most obvious, I think there's the biggest missing Mandalorian that would have been really, really cool, and I definitely think it's something that's in the works, maybe just not live just yet. Vizsla, all right? Vizsla obviously has to come to this game. It's a no-brainer for me. He's one of the most awesome Mandalorians we've ever seen. It's yet another Darksaber wielder, also. But he totally fits with the Clone Wars theme. He totally fits as far as being iconic, recognizable. This was the first time we saw the Darksaber, and of course, it opens all of the Death Watch options. I just think it's really cool. It's a great way to do things, and I think it just really fits. I'd love to see Vizsla in Star Wars Legion. Be very, very cool. I don't even think anybody would disagree with me. This is probably one of the most likely characters to show up to the game. And the only reason he probably wouldn't show up is if they had other plans for him or something. If there was some kind of Lucasfilm reason why they didn't want him in the game. But I can't really imagine why that'd be the case, because he's just too darn cool. Of course, we're going to have him in the game. Next up on my list, Fenn Rau. If you watch Star Wars Rebels, you're familiar with Fenn Rau. Fenn Rau opens up a ton of possibility into this game, because not only is he very cool, he was the Concord Dawn, the Protectorate of Concord Dawn, that whole arc. It kind of brings up, just in the same way that Vizsla opens up Death Watch proper, you can now have Concord Dawn protectors as a whole different battle force. I mean, we're going to talk about a lot of potential different battle forces in this, but he also worked with the Rebels, so here's a guy that can also go into Rebel builds, right? It totally works. It might really be cool to see him launch alongside, or not long after, the Ghost Crew, which we know we're going to be seeing previews of in November. It's going to be a very exciting time. Fenn Rau was pretty instrumental in a lot of the episodes of Star Wars Rebels. Really important character, really delved into the arc and talking about the history. He was the vehicle in which Dave Filoni was giving us more history and told us about Vizsla and the Darksaber, and went into all of this. It kind of explained to other people in the Ghost Crew the significance of so much of this stuff, gave us so much backstory. The other thing that's also really, really cool, and another really cool reason why I think we might see Fenn Rau, is because we're getting starships in Legion, right? We're getting fighters, and the first one we saw was the Fang fighter, And when did we see the Fang Fighter? The same time we saw the Fang Fighter was when the first time we saw Fenn Rau flying a Fang Fighter. Try to say that 10 times fast. Fenn Rau fighting in a Fang Fighter on the 4th of the time. Anyway, so, but no, maybe we'll see pilot cards for the Fang Fighter. That's one way for Fenn Rau to show up. That works. He was a very accomplished pilot. He also one of the best pilots in X-Wing miniatures game as well. So Fenn Rau just totally fits, totally works in with the game in multiple ways. Whether he comes in as a pilot or a ground fighter or a rebel capable mercenary or a Concord Dawn Protectorate. There's a lot of options for Fenn Rau, and it would be really cool. With that same arc, we already have him, but what about Gar Saxon? But this time, not from the Clone Wars timeline, but from the Imperial timeline as an Imperial Super Commando. This would be a really interesting way. You have a lot of different Imperial Super Commandos. This could easily be a battle force or a version of these guys that can work with the Empire. Now, we do see them primarily working, with other Imperial Super Commandos at the time when they introduced Gar Saxon in Star Wars Rebels. It would be kind of cool. He has a different look to him here than than when you see him during, when he's kind of aligned with Maul throughout Clone Wars and all of that, and then the Siege of Mandalore, and a lot of cool stuff from this guy. We've already got him in game, however, but since Fenn Rau had Gar Saxon had two very distinct costume options, and aligned with two very separate sort of factions, I could easily see this working. Plus, the Empire just has a lot of interest in Mandalore, and it's like it would be kind of cool to see whether or not they're fully playable inside Empire or not, or how they're going to do it. But I'd love to see Imperial Mandalorian Super Commandos. I think it'd be a cool thing. Now, here's the thing. If we're going to do Gar Saxon this way, we could also do his brother Tyber Saxon. You might remember Tyber Saxon kind of showing up after Gar Saxon kind of left the storyline with his arc-generating Beskar-seeking weapon that Sabine had helped develop, and that he employed on that giant that modified AT Walker with this giant device that would basically shoot out electricity and would kill Mandalorians. Now, I don't know if that whole weapon would really work, but it might make for a cool command card or something like that that could do certain things to Mandalorians. Maybe not. Maybe it's a little too powerful for a standard game of Legion, but either way, Tyber Saxon was very much devoted to the Empire, very much devoted to his ideal that Mandalore needed to adapt and join the Empire for its own survival. Really cool arc. Very ruthless character, would kill his own people just to, further his own goals, and would easily work. And you got like two important named characters for the Imperial Super Commandos. Could definitely be a thing that happens, and I definitely see him as playable in the Empire, or running a specific Mandalorian Super Commando battle force. That would be a really cool thing, and if it could work, you could already leverage a decent number of Imperial things in with them as well, so you wouldn't even need a whole bunch of new sculpts. You would just need your named characters and then some of the regular Super Commandos, and then sprinkle in some Imperial reinforcements throughout them. Could be really cool. I'd love to see it. Let me know your thoughts down below. Coming up next, switching over from animated to live action, you might have seen, since we've already got some folks from the crew for Bo-Katan, right? We've already got Axe Wolf. We gotta have Koska Reeves, right? I could easily see Koska Reeves showing up in here. The only thing is that her armor was a little on the plain side, and what really made her stand out was that she was a popular actor. Mercedes Varnado, if you followed her in WWE or in AEW, she's been in both. She's a very popular wrestler, but she is, she had a cool on-screen experience. She had some very cool scenes. She went toe-to-toe with Boba Fett, and she was present largely throughout Season 2 of The Mandalorian. I think the only reason that she is not in what we have already is that they only had room for so many named characters, and frankly, Axe Woves had more screen time because he was more prominent in following episodes and had more episodes and more seasons. But it definitely works. We could have her in there. It would totally be a thing. I don't know if it's needed as much because I feel like for those factions we already have enough stuff, and I don't think they do like an individual character all by herself at this point, so they'd have to have somebody else to pair her with or something else to make a box work. So it's the question of how would they actually release it for retail, because you kind of need at least 2 characters, if not more than 2, to make it work. And it could certainly work if you were to do a bundle of like, here's 4 more Mandalorians that each go in a different battle force, and then boom. I think that's kind of the best type of packaging or type of retail way to do it. If you're trying to balance, like, here's over time we might realize, hey, you know what, Bo-Katan's group is kind of struggling and they need, somebody with Pierce, or they need somebody that can, they can do this, then they can kind of build the character to fit that role. And she's definitely another named character that had a lot of on-screen time, or at least a fair amount of on-screen time to make that work. So I thought she'd be a cool one. It's a cool one worth noting. Our next entry is one that I wonder if some of you forgot was actually a Mandalorian. Ketsu Ono from Star Wars Rebels. You may remember her as Sabine's bounty hunter friend. Also a very cool character with a distinct look, a very cool ship. A little bit more prominently featured in Star Wars gaming when we look at X-Wing and Armada, where she had cards done for her and her ship. But very popular character amongst the gaming scene already. There is already art for her. There's already licensing for her. And I think she'd absolutely work in the game. And it would be also a character that might not fit into a specific Mandalorian battle force. Again, not every Mandalorian has to go into all the battle forces. She could work with the Rebels. She could be an open merc that works for anybody. She could be kind of like Boba Fett, going into a lot of different things, kind of be like Pikes or something like that. I think there's a lot of options here for how you're going to see Ketsu Ono if she does show up in Star Wars Legion. Could be a cool one. I don't think her ship would work in the game, though. It's a little bit of a larger ship, so I think it might be a little too large for how they're doing ships now in Legion, because she's more of like the light cruiser or like the Millennium Falcon sized ship. So I think that one again is going to be a little too big. I think we're limited to more like the smaller starfighters for that stuff, but I can see her showing up. She's got a cool look, different kind of armor, and you could kind of build her however you need. Find a need and find a role, and then kind of sculpt her in order to fit that. I think it could work. I think it'd be a cool way to do another Mandalorian as well. Now, shifting gears a little bit to a different style of Mandalorian, not the combat-focused Mandalorians that we're used to, but what if they went back and got Duchess Satine Kryze, right? What do you think if they were to do stuff from the original Mandalorian arc in Clone Wars and show Mandalore and the rest of Mandalore? You could still make a battle force out of that. You do still have guards. It could be, she'd obviously not be a warrior. She could be more of like that Grand Moff Tarkin style character. It would totally work, and then Mandalorians might find themselves with need of like dedicated support officers if you're trying to like have eventually someday maybe a wider unite the Mandalorian kind of battle force that has like Mandalorians from all over. If you wanted to do like a Mandalore proper battle force that kind of represented them all, pre-Clone Wars, when they had a whole planet all kind of united and maybe not all split into all these little factions, that could be a cool thing too. And if so, this would be a great opportunity to give you leaders that look different, that stand out, can have a very different play style, don't have to be wearing Beskar armor, could be wearing cloth and lightly defended, but give them the ability to lead in a different way, like we've seen with recent Imperial commanders. I think that could be a very cool thing. Duchess Satine is certainly recognizable and fits that role. I like it. I'm not sure if it'll happen anytime soon, but I think it would be a really cool option to go with. Plus, you have all the guards and everything else. You have a lot to draw on from this arc of the Clone Wars. A lot of different characters that could also fit the bill here. And it could be a lot of fun to give your battlefield like a different vibe if you're running all Mandalorians. That could be a fun one. Now, if we're going to do this, though, there's one more and it's kind of a cop-out because he's not really a Mandalorian. And we're going to talk about some people that aren't really Mandalorians, but that also belong in this video. And I'm talking about if Obi-Wan Kenobi were ever to cost 200 points, right, it would be this version, right? Give Obi-Wan his Mandalorian armor and let's put him in the game. I don't know if they'll ever actually do this because it would probably, it'd probably run the risk of being incredibly broken. But at the same time, like, I'd love to see it at least as an alternate sculpt for Obi-Wan. Maybe you don't act. I mean, it might warrant him having a whole card or something like that. But gosh, how many of you want to have a Beskar-clad Mandalorian Obi-Wan Kenobi? Raise your hand. I'm looking around. I see everyone's hand is up. And why do you all have two hands up? Of course you do. Obi-Wan. Mandalorian Obi-Wan, we gotta see this, right? Like, it would be one of the coolest things. And again, I'm not saying that every character that they do has to be, like, they can do some characters that are just for, like, dioramas or just for fun, or, like, alternate sculpts of characters, like they've done in the past. Like, that's cool, too, but, like, it would be really fun to have Obi-Wan, like, with the jetpack and with the Beskar armor and, you know, golly. I mean, I don't know how much the Beskar armor would really help him, because of the fact that, like, isn't he already immune to pierce, so you don't need impervious, all right? Like, you know, like, with deflect, you already got surge for block when you're being shot. You'd have to find another way to, like, how would a Jedi leverage the Beskar? You know, maybe they get, like, a free reroll every defense or something like that. Like, I'd have to work something crazy into it, but it would be really fun. I think this could be super, super awesome. A blasty blast, as you might say. Other folks who aren't actual Mandalorians but look really cool, Moff Gideon. I mean, Moff Gideon's, you know, his Imperial Super Commando Mandalorian kind of faux Mandalorian armor from the end of Mando Season 3. Look, this was cool. He's not a true Mandalorian, but it was cool. It was a really cool, like, this would be a cool miniature to paint up. It'd be a cool model to do. And it's different enough from how we see Moff Gideon that it would justify, like, a whole alternate version. I think it'd be super fun. And if you're doing, like, Imperial Mandalorian Super Commandos, like, this could work with that. You know, like, yes, the timeline of, like, Gar Saxon, Tyber Saxon versus Moff Gideon might differ a little bit, but he's also an older guy, right? Like, we're kind of bending. We're making our own canon with these games from a certain extent. So, like, maybe you could justify him kind of working with that Battle Force if the theme is Imperial Mandalorian Super Commandos. This really fits that bill. I think it would be cool. Again, not sure if it's going to happen anytime soon. And then there's also the question, would you still be able to leverage Moff Gideon's command cards? Would you still have the same synergy and things like that you have with Dark Troopers? I think go for it. It'd be fun. Would it be so good that now you don't want to run regular Moff Gideon anymore? Maybe. There's a whole lot of things to consider, but this would be a really cool model to have, even if it was just an alternate sculpt for Gideon. And we can't forget, you know, somebody else who's not really a true Mandalorian, right? But it's a Jango Fett. One of the most requested characters since the Clone Wars was ever announced for this game. The fact that he's not in game yet is still a little baffling. But yes, Jango obviously needs to show up. Maybe it'll be in a pack of, like, Mandalorians that aren't really Mandalorians, right? Or something like that. You could, or just Mandalorian bounty hunter type characters, or rogue Mandalorians, or something like that. It would totally work. I even thought, what if they did, like, a father and son combo where they did, like, Kid Boba from the Mandalorian, from the Clone Wars arc? But I don't know if they'd ever want to put, like, kids in the game, since it is, like, a war game. So I don't know if they'll actually do that, even though it's Boba Fett, so he's, like, no ordinary kid. But still, I don't think they'd do like clones in training when they're still, like, adolescents and stuff like that. So I think Jango by himself is probably the best bet for how we'll get that. And I think it would be really, really cool. So those are my thoughts on different Mandalorians. Let me know if I missed any that you thought should be on this list. We're also going to announce our giveaway winner. So today's giveaway winner is Commandant Easy. Congratulations, Commandant Easy. You have won a $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. Go ahead and shoot me an email over at mailcrabbok@gmail.com and we'll get you squared away. If you didn't win, don't worry. Next giveaway starts right now, so make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you're leaving a comment. all the good stuff. Make sure you like and share the video too. Click that little bell for alerts. You can even hype up the video. Did you know that's a new thing you can do now? You can hype up videos if you think that they're pretty good, or if you want YouTube to recommend this stuff more. If you think it's worthy, if you think I did a good job, if you want to hit that hype button, it's a pretty cool thing. Let me know if you. I think you only get like a certain amount of hypes a month. I think it's like 3 every 30 days or something like that. So you kind of want to reserve those for good videos. But if you want to test it out on my videos, I would love it. But you do whatever you think is best. I just thank you for watching regardless. So I do appreciate you guys. That's going to do it for this video. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are absolutely amazing. I will talk to you soon. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. So say we all. And always wash your socks.